Well. Mr. Alexander Storm, there's only one person sexier than me on the internet, and I get to stare at you every Wednesday.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. How you doing tonight, brother?
I am doing well, and I know that's a deep subject, but I am excited about today because you guys are joining us for Toy Box Chronicles episode number 40, and we have a lot we're going to get over today. But more importantly, we're going to be talking about something that has a massive impact on the toy industry that a lot of people aren't really talking about. And I think that there is something we need to talk about, and that is the pipeline leaving from Hasbro. And is this going to be something that other companies follow? How is it going to collect? We're not sure. We're not sure how it's going to collect. You know, what's this going to do to toy collecting? We don't know. And then we have some pre-orders, some small toy biz talk. But yeah, sir, I am happy to see you. Have you ever seen this? Welcome, everybody. If you're just jumping in, you have stumbled across the best and the only toy podcast you should be paying attention to, Toy Box Chronicles. This is episode 40. I am your lovely, gorgeous, drop-dead, sexy host, Chet Maddox, along with another drop-dead, gorgeous, sexy host, Alexander Storm. Sir, how have you been doing? What have you been up to since we last saw your pretty face?
Well, you know what? I'm going to start off with nation to nation, coast to coast, from our toy rooms to your living room. This is Toy Box Chronicles. Let's go. Like Bill just jumping in tonight said, let's go, Bill. Let's have a good night. Let's roll.
What's happening, Bill?
So doing real good, man. You know, I know there's a sentiment all over a bunch of other people. Hey, man, we're here to have a good time. Drop your problems. It's a point to just enjoy some nostalgia, some new stuff. You know, let the problems, but that's the good thing about it. It's therapy. Toy Box Chronicles is therapy for you. Therapy. We are
licensed toy therapists.
Yes, sir.
Because I licensed us. So
and welcome in to Crooked Smiles Collectibles. What's
up? What's up, KSK? SKK?
The greatest and the best.
Mr. Moocher jumping on in.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man, this week has been slow and steady for toys. I know there's been some stuff that's like come out and talked about, but I think that I've been busy. I don't know if you see it, but I've been busy.
I can see that. Actually, I was busy too, helping you get in there.
that is true. The Chet battle station is coming together. It's a little hollow. Sounds a little hollow in here. It's because I've been waiting to fill everything up. But soon you'll start seeing my pretty face pop up a lot more on the YouTubes. The unbox is going to be starting again, probably into this week or beginning of next week. I apologize. I know that a lot of people love those videos, and I've been messaged saying, "Hey, I bought this toy because of this," or I didn't buy this toy because of this, which is great. That's what we want, right? You don't need to draw out and unbox and say, "Check this out. I'm gonna unbox the Kit Transformer live," and then just hold the shit up for people to see. No one cares. That's not how you unbox things. So
I can't wait to see that Boulder Hill displayed. Oh, it's going to be displayed in a different way. We were just over at Home Depot for that, so it's going to be rolling. And to let everybody else know, it's like I think even for Rad, that's on the Friday night Pixel Plastic Inc. 7 p.m. Pacific time, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You'll start seeing everybody's displaying changing because we're going to go through an evolution in 2025. So you're going to see all of our backdrops and situations like a little bit evolve and change, and it's going to look completely different than how you see it here. So this is 2024 setup. 2025 is going to look extremely unique. There's going to be some things popping in as well. We got the Dragonfly in like a couple of weeks. That'll be
Yeah.
popping through. I can't wait to see Scott Solo and the Ghost that's popping up for
Oh.
him. I don't know, Darth Moocher, did you purchase the Ghost? Let us know in the comments, man. But I'm looking forward to seeing some of these big ticket items start coming into some people's collection. And anyone else out there, if you've got any items that are popping in that are something unique or whatever, hey, drop that over on our Instagram. That's at the Shadow Nose Network and Instagram, Shadow with an E, like the actual Shadow Nose Network. Drop it in and everything. He says, I'm looking right at it. He says, no, he did not, but he did buy Dragonfly. Hey, if don't let Scott Solo know, but yeah, I think you picked the right choice.
Yo to the Joe, thanks for stopping in over on Instagram. Appreciate you. Hope you enjoy this show.
Hey,
This could.
before we get into that, Yo to the Joe is probably one of the best customizers, and I always enjoy his coffee with Joes in the morning. So I am watching you, brother. I am watching.
That is true. I would agree with you on that. There's some customizations that happen that are
Absolutely.
pretty good. But hey, you guys didn't come here to just hang out with us, right? I mean, I know you did, but we'll give you some information. So I think that this topic, and we want a lot of information from you because this is an important topic for toy lines. Has potential to, I don't want to say like destroy toy collecting, but it will destroy your wallets because now it's going to be a little bit more impossible to figure out what's coming out. So the main topic we're going to get into right now is actually pipeline reveals ending for Hasbro.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts, Mr. Storm?
Well, we touched upon this a little bit over at the Toy Chest. That's every other Monday on the Sort Like Digest podcast network. And we were initially talking about it at the moment. It's saying it's Star Wars, and Mr. Stevie over at Hasbro has let it know that he's not a fan of the pipeline, and that the pipelines are coming to an end, and that they want to have the surprise element hit with fans. I think before pandemic that probably worked, and I think that was, well, actually, I'm sorry, pandemic that worked because people need to see what's coming down the line. Everything was kind of a little crazy then. I
Mm-hmm.
think to reverse it and go back, I think there's going to be a problem, and I'll give you some of the problems that were coming up. And since Darth Moocher's here, we'll run with this. But before I do that, I just want to hit this one thing that Richard said, which is actually a very big deal. He finalized the deal today. Very soon, he will be seeing some awesome classified scale vehicles. I had a glimpse of that. That is something that we're going to have Richard on and start, because that is going to be very interesting as well. But as we're popping through, let's just, and like I said again, we like to do the math for you and everything. All right, so imagine a world without pipelines. And at the moment, there's economic crunch and everything's going on a little different. I think pipelines was good in the fact is that you knew what was going to hit your wallet, like, at least months before, or at least even to the point, sometimes almost a year before. But now they're kind of catching up. And I did hear in 2025, there is a little bit more delays. But if you look at the standard price of this wave from the Star Wars Black series, there's 7 figures in total of it. That's $174.93 before taxes. Not, that's not throwing in taxes, because we all know there's a tax, especially in California. There's a hell of a tax here. But that's $174 that you knew at one point or another. You could look down the road, you could kick the can, you say, okay, well, maybe some of these figures I'll play the long game on. If you have the FOMO, you're actually going to purchase them right away, but you knew what was hitting your wallet. When they're dropping down surprises, that's not happening. You're going to be caught by surprise. And I think that there's going to be some effects that we'll talk about that's going to be a little bit different. And yeah, Dark Moocher touched on this. Budgeting is a key. I agree. Absolutely. I think especially now, because they're relying, like I said, the toy industry is not a kids industry anymore. It's now become for adults. Adults
Yep.
have, some of them have disposable incomes, but that disposable income is now coming at a cost because everything else is costing higher, and you've got to make some tough decisions. I know myself, Chet, you can talk about that. We made some decisions on some lines we weren't going to collect anymore.
Yep.
And so I think with myself, I let a lot of the McFarlane stuff go. It's like, if I'm going to buy Star Wars Black, if I'm going to buy Marvel Legends, I'm doing G.I. Joe Classified. And now I'm doing some vintage collection in Star Wars and some old school G.I. Joe vintage as well. It's taken a hit. So again, seven figures, 24.95, or I'm sorry, 24.99 a figure. That's what you're looking at. You knew down the line, but also you can look and see some of these characters, and like, maybe you weren't a fan of Darth Maul. Well, I'm not going to buy that. You knew early enough. You were able to gauge. But now, if this is just the Star Wars line, okay, that might work. I think Star Wars fans may have a little something different, but with Hasbro, they have multiple lines. I don't think this is just stopping with the Black Series. I think it's going to be something that's going to pour in over there. So we've taken some other steps and measures to actually calculate that as well. So let's say something like Marvel Legends, the Zabu line, which was a Build-A-Figure line. That had a total of 7 figures in it, and then you could build Zabu. So technically, 7 figures and a Build-A-Figure. And that was, now this one didn't have any deluxe figures or anything strange out of that. And so each one of these was still at the 24.99 marking, and that's 174.93 before taxes. But you can see now from this line, I can tell you, I technically only wanted Kazar, and I was like, I'll find somebody online to bid Zabu, because I did not want any of the other characters. I wasn't interested in any, like, the Supreme Iron Man, or Icarus, or some of those other characters. So I knew right down the line what I was actually going to purchase from this line, and it helped me because, again, if they're just popping up with figures, and I think that they're saying that they don't want to have a surprise factor on this, Chet. And like, is that really a big difference? Sometimes you just want to see the figures that's coming out in the line. Like, why do
Yeah.
I know there's some people that like to be surprised. And if there's a character, like, I think a surprise character is something like Dragon Man. To me, that was a surprise character that popped up. Very
Yeah. I
cool
don't.
surprise character.
I don't think you could. I don't think you could chalk it up to surprise, because I think when they reveal pipelines, you get surprised by what's coming out, anyways.
Yeah.
Right? Like, Secret Wars came out, everyone's surprised by that. You know. So I don't think. I don't know. I'll be
Yeah.
curious. I'll be curious to see what the reception is to this, because um, I think that if you want to remove pipelines or roadmaps or whatever you want to call them of your line and what's coming out, I would highly advise not producing as many,
Yes.
because I don't think, and we'll get into this towards the end of the show about a figure that's coming out for pre-order tomorrow, but like something like that, not knowing that it's coming out and then it comes out, like, I'm not gonna care.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where it's like, you should technically be catering to a pipeline, and you should be showing what's coming out, because like you said earlier, the only people buying these toys realistically are grown adults.
Mhm.
And we budget, we decide we want to spend our money on. And look, I know that they're doing this weird release right now where they're dropping this one that we're going to talk about. Then next week they're dropping another one. Then next week they're dropping another one. And their thing was, we want to go easy on your wallet. It's like, well, going easy on your wallet should be not doing 2 HasLabs back to back right before holidays, and then also like not dropping them every week. Like every other week's cool because you get on payroll cycles, but I think that's where the pipeline comes in, right? Like I saw
Exactly.
this wave. I'm with you. I only wanted Zabu, but I wanted Cable. So I
Yeah.
only bought Cable, but I still want Zabu. But it's like, it's not worth it for me to buy the entire line because I'll never give a shit about the other characters.
Well, and also too, they do a good job.
Kazar probably, but not any of the other one.
They do a good job of mixing, like, wanted characters and then sometimes unwanted characters. And again, hey, anybody that's in X Force, you probably want to complete your X Force line. That's fine, But Dark Thor, that, like, again, what sense does that make? And then you've got Cable and everything. Now, on the other hand, as we flip through, we're trying not to go through this too fast. There was a Strange Tale line, and of course, you and I, being big fans of a lot of the Midnight Sun characters and a little bit of the Marvel Macabre kind of wave. This one highly interested me, but there was a couple of figures I didn't want. I didn't want the Helverine. I wasn't too interested in the Goblin Queen. And then also I think Darkstorm wasn't one of the ones, but like I wanted Moon Knight, I wanted Darkstorm, I wanted Brother Voodoo and / Dr. Voodoo, and I didn't care about the Build-A-Figure in this line. So this was one, but also this same way. There's no deluxe figures. So now when you're talking about dropping these pipelines and everything, right? You're not taking into account that in the midst of these lines, of both of these lines, and we'll go back. Between this line, we got Thor or Odin, and then we also got Hulkbuster, and those were deluxe figures. So when you're looking at that, these all come from a different price point. What's going on, Meeks? So that's the aspect that I think that So if you're saying, all right, we want to get the surprise element, well, surprise and if I'm not mistaken. Those were $59.99 figures, right?
The deluxe ones? Yeah.
All right, so I think that those then somebody's already making a
put your quarter on the machine, baby.
There you go.
No. This is a perfect example, right? You went from this to Strange, right?
Yeah.
And I wanted the entire Strange Tales, so I bought all of them because I also care about the Build-A-Figure. But this was one where I knew it was coming out, and I was like, cool. I'm just gonna pretend like the money's not there because I want every figure. I have them right over here. And I mean, you know me, I buy anything with Brother Voodoo or Dr. Voodoo, whatever you want to call him.
Here's the aspect. Well, no, you can change between them. You can make them Brother Voodoo, or you can make them Dr. Voodoo, the Sorcerer Supreme.
Yeah.
But in this one, this is 174. So you were able to take in advance the amount of money it was. Now imagine if they didn't do it. They said, all right, we're not going to do a pipeline. So then they introduced the same way, like we're going to talk about this pre-order later on, is if they did one at a time.
Yeah, I wouldn't know how many I have to save.
Yeah, so like imagine if you're like, again, but like, some of these waves haven't started hitting at this time of the year. Most of them are already kind of came out, and I think that's a smart thing. But then again, let's say they're doing one at a week, and it was coming out, and then the Hasbro Ghostbuster HasLab popped in. Then that's a hard thing. I think that Hasbro is shooting themselves in the foot by them going down this approach. And one of the aspects that I'll say that changes a little bit, and this is where this is gonna flip out, because while again these are multiple lines, right now they're just talking about Star Wars, but if it's gonna be on one line, they're gonna see if it's gonna work on the other lines. They're gonna key that in.
Yeah.
Here's a line where that's gonna throw this off in complete disruption. We got the Classified line. Classified line has a major problem with it, because not only do they just have their standard regular figures, but they have deluxe and 2-packs, and then something like Nemesis Immortal that just came out right now, and then also Starduster and all these other, that completely throws off not having pipelines out of the point. Because like if you look at the price ranging right here, just on these characters, this is not Starduster put into this, not Nemesis Immortal put into this, any of the bigger, crazier figures that they did out of the wave. This is almost $200. This is $199.94.
Yep.
And the fluctuation is just 4 regular figures in this set, and there's one deluxe figure, and then there's a 2-pack. And this is not even counting the Walmart exclusive versions of the Night Force stuff.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
So by you not giving pipelines out, then let's say they drop this, you've got Roblox and Tripwire of the
Hmm.
Tiger Force 2-pack. That was a Target exclusive. So all of the Tiger Forces are Target exclusive. That drops. Then you've got a Naga Hide of the Dreadnought, 44.99. Then they got Night Creeper, they got Jinx, they got Doc, they got Torch. So that kind of throws it in again. Nemesis Immortal. I believe Nemesis Immortal was, which technically is Nemesis Enforcer, but they lost the rights to it. It's Nemesis Immortal. Um, that I believe was $64
Yeah,
as
64.
well.
Because I wanted
So
to get
and
that one, but it was yeah.
yeah, and see that was the one. Look, that was one of those hills to die on because I knew again they did Nemesis Immortal at the 10/27. They were saying, "Hey, he's coming. He'll be out this week." And then the week before they did New York Comic Con and they got the Ghostbusters HasLab. I'm a
Yeah.
Nemesis Immortal it, or I'm gonna wait till December 3rd and save that extra $64
Yeah, but
and
also
add
don't
that into the HasLab.
and don't forget that in the midst of the HasLabs was also the pre-order for Dragon Man, and then
Dragon Man.
also the pre-orders for the Sentinels.
Yep. Mhm.
I
Yeah,
mean,
and
come on.
Sentinels now look, I think that's a smarter way. If they're gonna do a surprise for something Dragon Man, a surprise, that's a great surprise. I think if it's specific to a figure, that works. Especially over in large figure, like they didn't do that with Ant-Man. I think that was a HasLab, was if I'm not mistaken.
Giant Man.
Or Giant Man, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
HasLab.
and then they ran with a Dragon Man. That's a made to order one. I think that's extremely smart. I think that plan works.
Yep.
And same thing with the Sentinel. Sentinels also, and the price ranging works well too. And I know a bunch of collectors, you being one of them, but I know also about three other guys that have purchased multiple Sentinels. And then one of my buddies was like, "Oh my god!" He's like, "Yeah, I bought these Sentinels, and then I forgot about the HasLab going up on December 3rd. That's the due date." And he was like, "I don't know how the hell am I going to do this." It's like because the HasLabs have always been kind of a foretold surprise. We know at least a week or two before what the item's going to be, and they're stressing. We just don't know sometimes the price range, but we kind of have a sense a couple of weeks before what's coming. In this case, though, the Sentinels, they did a pretty good job. We had heard some leaks online, but they did a
Yeah.
pretty good job with that 97 Sentinels. But
Yeah.
that's where it's kind of like, something like classified is going to wreak havoc because again, also, if we looked at this, this is just counting in the just the figures. But what else are they dropping? Well, in the midst of that, they dropped the Tiger Paw out of nowhere. That's 54.99. Actually, too, it's 54.99. Check your local Targets. That came back into stock. So if you're in the Tiger Force and you've been looking for this, I know the first time and when it sold out, a lot of people aren't able to get it. Scott Solo did a great unboxing of this, and I was highly surprised at how well it is. I'm still not into Tiger Force, but I did like Wreckage as the figure. And then, when you had the Stinger, that was 99, and I do believe that the Vamp that came out was 79. So, this is where it wreaks the havoc. Starduster was 34.99. And it's just it's going to hurt. Pipelines going away will hurt, especially in the other lines. Not so much maybe Star Wars, they can get away with it, build some anticipation, get some fans a little bit hyped. I think if they did that with maybe one character, that's probably smart. But I think that and it well, one, I think this is gonna hurt Hasbro. I think people are gonna be it's gonna disenfranchise some people. They're gonna try to play catch up. Something's dropping one week, no, something's dropping another week. People are like, like they can't plan for that as well financially. So I think that's gonna hurt. But also, let's just say hypothetically, if somebody in the toy industry does something, what happens, Chet?
Someone else
It's
follows.
it normally gets imitated. So let's
Yep.
just say that McFarlane starts playing with the same scenarios. Or let's give it to any other line out there. Let's say Super 7 or NECA or anyone else. Let's say this starts trickling through the entire industry. I think that there is a mess that's coming that'll be instituted by not having the essential points of having pipelines. Pipelines, I know it was created for the pandemic and they were trying to let people know things are coming and everything, but I think it worked in a point of just, I know what's coming down the line. I can plan, I can see, I can pick and choose. And if they're saying that that's affecting their toy sales, well, what's always the remedy to that? Make better toys.
Yeah.
It's like if you're having a problem with getting lines, well, maybe you should put unwanted figures in a build a figure line just to build the figure. You know, maybe you should start thinking about that. But I just thought about especially as we were going over this early in the week and we were talking about it, and I started doing the research on like GI Joe. I was like, oh no, this is not gonna work with GI Joe. This is and we haven't even mentioned any of the Transformers GI Joe collabs that they just dropped out of nowhere too. So there's so many more things in the transform or the GI Joe line, especially with the collabs and all the rest of stuff. So if we go back, this wave right here was 199.94. Then you add some vehicles into this, that's another 154, another 99. Whatever the other drops that they came down and whatever, you know, you're reaching over the 250, 300 mark here just on the GI Joe line.
I mean, you're already at 350 right now.
Yeah. And this is like I said again, we haven't added Starduster, Nemesis Immortal. We haven't done any of the Night Force characters over at Walmart because they've got so many clowns. They got Collectors Con and they got the Fall Geek Out, and they got the Summer Geek Out, and there's also many of these event. The NECA was a NECA Holathon.
Mhm.
So this is where, like I said again, I think the problems arise from like budgeting. I think you're killing fans. I think that these surprise drops, something's going to have to start suffering. And like when I read that quote from Mr. Stevie that said, well, I'm not a fan of that, and I think the surprises was better. And I looked at it and I said, yeah, there was a time when we're on a financial high. Yeah, I think surprises are fine. You compensating for that. But when it's like, food and gas and everything else, it's just one of those situations. What's going on, AR? So, there's always a scenario where I think they're not really thinking about it, brother. And I got a bad feeling that this is gonna do something. So from a toy collector's point of view, do you prefer the pipelines or you think they're non-essential?
I think that they are essential.
Mhm.
Number one, it for the company in general, if you release your pipeline and there's excitement around it, you made the right decision.
Exactly.
If you release your pipeline and there's no excitement around it and no one's really talking about it, you know what decision you have to make. If you don't do any of those and you just start releasing toys and no one buys them, that's your own fault. And I think it's like the reason why is they're in such like a vast universe. No matter what, see, this is the problem: is that
Okay.
Hasbro's done it to themselves.
Mhm.
They're juggling Star Wars, Legends, and Classifieds. Yes, Transformers as well, but I'll hold off on adding them right now.
Yeah.
You're juggling all of these IPs, right? And you probably have people like everyone here and everyone we know collects multiple things.
Mhm.
So the problem is that like we want to see what you're working on in each line to know that you're actually working towards something. And
Yeah.
the problem is by not doing that, it's like, well, we have to go based on like just good faith gestures that you're going to be releasing like shit that we care about. And that's not necessarily the case. I don't believe that to be the case. And I think that they've proven it over time by releasing stuff that no one gives a shit about and it doesn't sell. That's why they're eternally on the pegs forever, because no one wanted Eternals, no one wanted Acolyte figures, and if they were pushing that, and even if they did a pipeline with just like outlines, like, so this is what we're going to release, but there's more to follow, and it was done on a quarterly basis, you could then reach out for like feedback on what's being released, and then make your pivot to release it. And so I think it is pivotal to the older collectors being, what we are at this point. Because we're going to budget. We want to know what's coming out. Also, like, we get excited. I mean, it's like I had, well, let's see, just for me, speaking about me in general, like, we had the GI Joe HasLab funded, money came out. Dragon Man funded, money came out. Sentinels will fund, money will come out. Ghostbusters funded, money will come out. Not to mention all the dumb shit I'm going to be buying that comes out regardless anyways. But it's like, and then plus, like, I was over and saw your His tank, and now I'm like, well, that's got to go. I mean, I need that. And it's not even that. It's that like, then I have the stuff from Ramen Toys. I have the tank, and then I have two of the vans. And then we have a special guest coming on next week, which we'll talk about, which is again, it's got more money. And then me, I collect a lot of like retro and vintage stuff. So if I'm walking somewhere and I see that, well, I got to buy that. I don't have to, and I know I have a problem, and that's fine, but no one cares. I do think they're important. I do think they're important, at least for your flagship lines.
Yeah. And that's why I said, I think, will it affect Hasbro's bottom end? I think this kind of thing will affect their bottom end. And I think by them not giving like toy collectors heads up to know where their collection is going, how much their collection is going, then I think they're pushing themselves into a problem where, like, because I know this, I've seen this, I personally have not felt it, but in a critical sense, but I've done it down the line where, like, you're constantly catching up to a line because you're in another line and they drop some stuff here. And then there's, like I said, again, we were running with, there was like one major HasLab, when the Jabba's Barge came out, it was the biggest thing. And we thought, okay, it's Jabba's Barge. And then they started HasLabbing the heck out of stuff. And now they've gotten like they averaging 4 to 5 HasLabs a year. And now they've got their, one-offs that they're doing, made to orders. So, it's like at a certain point,
which is smart, because let's be honest, like, I'm like, well, do I really want to buy the Sentinels now? And I'm like, I'll never get them that cheap.
Yeah, no. But also in the same point, it's like, there's a pushback. Again, we understand Hasbro is a major corporation. They have a fiduciary cause to make money for their stockholders. That's absolutely what it is. Not debating that. The problem with that scenario is when you're running that, you're running on the back of your community of people that are out here purchasing your action figures. Now, at this point, you're almost like, it's like you go and you're fishing a pool. Well, there's no young guppies or minnows coming. You've got a whole bunch of old fish in the pond. And every time you hook a fish, you take a fish out, and it leaves less in that pond. They're not doing this to hook new fans or new individuals to get them to, younger audiences in or something else. Now, I will say, on the other hand, Jack Specific seems to be doing that. With their Sonic line and with their Simpsons line and the affordable pricing, but they're not doing that at Hasbro. Hasbro is not like, saying, well, here's some discounted, because they gave McFarlane those page punchers, the discounted item over at Hasbro is $24.95. That's their cheapest line kind of scenario there, until like Target can't sell it, and then they start hitting it for the 15 to 20% off and everything 3 weeks after it's come out. So as you're looking at it, the problem keeps arising that you're overfishing the pond, but you're
Yeah.
overfishing the pond in such a way now that you're draining all of the collectors' incomes out of this because if you're just GI Joe, well, look, if you add up this year, you're probably into the let's say over 1,500 mark
Yeah,
in
easily
toy
2000.
collection on that. Yeah, easily. Marvel Legends about the same way. Star Wars, absolutely.
You're
So
absolutely in the
now,
$2,000 mark for Star Wars, right, Moocher?
exactly, yeah, and you're not taking into account San Diego Comic Con exclusives. You're not
Yes.
taking into account, like I said,
New
see,
York
we're
Comic Con
throwing in all these.
exclusives. Yeah.
Yeah, we're hitting it, the New York Comic Con exclusives. Thank God they haven't started the LA Comic Con exclusives and everything, and
That's a
yeah,
new
so
that's a new segment Toy Box Chronicles is going to produce for everybody. What you've purchased for the year so far, and we'll just
exactly.
release and we'll put it on like a nice little timeline and we'll show it on one of the shows. So
Yeah.
that way you can cry in a corner.
And then here's it's also some of these surprise drops that they've kind of gotten away with. And it's like if we look at Marvel Legends, it just now popped up to me and some of these other ways when we talked about having Odin and then having Hulkbuster. And then right there, you've got
And then you
Ghost
also
Rider.
had the Punisher two
Yeah, the
pack.
Punisher 2-pack and everything that they dropped on. And then in the midst of all this, they did the Transformers Knight Rider collab, which you've got over there
Mhm.
as well. Which that was just one of those things. They dropped it 1 month and they said it's coming out, and then it came early from Amazon, you
They
know.
did that with
So
the turtle collab with the turtle van, the Ecto
they
One
did.
collab with the Ecto van. Like,
Now, if you're somewhere back east and you got Ollie's, you can get the Jurassic Park Transformers Lab for like a really discounted price. So if you
so
guys are, and I hope they're coming to Ross because the appreciation. If you haven't seen the Transformer Knight Rider collab, it is worthy of a purchase. It is fantastic, and I know, like I said, Mr. Maddox is going to do that dropping and everything. I love the G1 style to the boxing too, man. That is right up there, man, you know? But it looks like and then also the, yes, if you wanna know, the Larson beam does work, which is the, LED readout in the front of the car. It does work for this as well, so, that's like I said again, but that dropped out of nowhere. They're gonna drop some stuff in December that we haven't even heard of. And, again, like the new pre-order that we'll talk about real soon, they're doing that 1 week, the 1 week, the 1 week, and it's like, "Hey, well, we don't wanna hurt your pocketbook, but, we're dropping these a couple of weeks before December, the 1st week of December where you gotta pay for the, Ecto One HasLab," you know?
yeah.
And then I think they try to do goodwill, and this is how we'll say goodwill, because we talked about this Friday's PPI, but they knew they weren't gonna reach that whole 12,000 in 2 weeks scenario of 14 days. So all of a sudden they said, "You know what? We just thought about it, and we're gonna give if the campaign backs fully by December 3rd, we're gonna give everybody Tully from Ghostbusters." And I was like, "No, no, you literally had a day and you had another 3,000 backers that you needed. You knew you weren't gonna make this. So, you're trying and then also that was days before they had laid off a bunch of people, 150 people as well. But they're trying to do a little goodwill on that. There's no goodwill on that thing. So first of all, it should not be an early bird. Just put it for the whole entire campaign. I thought like, trying to entice and get 12,000. Look, you you're literally going to have this fund like, less than 20 days before Christmas. Like what kind of insane point did they think? Again, this is not like, some kids like, "Hey, I really want that HasLab next Christmas," because it's not coming this Christmas. It's gonna take a whole year to come out. So you're gonna like, I'm just gonna drop you that money, and then next year at this time, hopefully for Christmas, I will see that. That's where it start getting ridiculous in their train of thought, in their minds, and what they need to do because I think they are hurting fandom and they're not listening and there's some pushback. Look, I can find the Strange Tale line easily.
Yeah.
Now that previous one that had Blade in it, I can't find any of those figures. Can I find the Zabu Wave all over the place?
Yeah.
So something suffered between the beginning of the year to this point of the year right now. It just is it's I don't get it, and I think they need to have some changes, but we'll get into this right now where if you thought your pocketbooks weren't already hurt, well, tomorrow's gonna hurt you a little bit more. But not in the way that you thought. They have the Dark Warbird that they're calling it from the Dark Avengers pre-order. That's dropping tomorrow. And they have also Fabian Cortez from this, I guess, not line, but he will be dropping in another week or so. And then after that, there's going to be a character called Spot that was from the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse kind of villain. He will be dropping in, and that's within 3 weeks before the HasLab comes up. Now, here's the thing: they had Warbird out early in the year, and that character is hard to find now. I will give them credit
Mm-hmm.
because I think that was, if I'm not mistaken, was that a Target exclusive?
Yeah.
It was some kind of exclusive because I know it was hard to find, and a lot of
Is that
people were
Target?
complaining that you couldn't find it. Okay, so it's Target.
Yeah, I
So
couldn't find it. This one I was still back in Georgia, and
yeah,
I couldn't find it. And then randomly, I walked into Target one day, and it was like in a random spot, and I was like, "Oh, I'll get it." And even
okay,
then, I bought it randomly at Target for like $25, and on
yeah.
like Whatnot and places, it's going for like 50. So,
Well, that's what happens when they do exclusive. But having this now, this is going to drop tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And this is also going to be a fan channel kind of scenario, so it's not like you're gonna worry about it, can I get this or not, and everything. So it'll be at your, like, our Entertainment Earth. You can use our link down in the bottom and purchase it through there or any of the other fan channels. Or I'm assuming also when they say fan channels, I'm sure it's going to be also up on Amazon, which
mhm.
works itself out. But you know drop 1 week, drop another week, drop another week, and then there's a HasLab. And in the same time, they also dropped the Transformer collab out of nowhere. So it's just I don't know what's going on at Hasbro. I know they said they eliminated a bunch of people to streamline things and make things quicker and everything else, but uh, you know, if they're just keeping, again, they're overfishing the pond. I will just say that every day of the week. They're overfishing the pond, and they're gonna, in the long run, they're gonna have some toy collectors bail on some lines. And I think that one of the lines, if I would be worried about, I'm not so much. I think Marvel Legends might be good because Marvel Legends really does have a very low following.
Yeah.
Um, I'm thinking that their problem may come maybe in classified, because there's, with vehicles now being left and right now, and just this year alone, I think we've gotten like two major vehicles and then a couple of minor ones.
Mhm.
So if that plan is still coming out, I think that's a line that will suffer the most, because of the fact is that it's just, there's so many expensive items coming out for the line, along with we just paid $375 for the Rattler, and that was in July/August when the campaign ended.
Yep.
So there hasn't been any relief in step, and I think they've got to start thinking about that. I think, like I said, I don't think they need to have a seasonal HasLab. I understand they need to have one, but like the smart thing to do is, like, towards the end of the year. Again, I've said this: anything after October, they should not do any more HasLabs. Now, if they want to do one-offs or made to order figures, that's okay. I think that's smart. But to have a big ticket item of, like, the Ecto one, which is going to run you, I think it's 325 for the standard Ecto one, and the Ecto 1A is 375. But with taxes and everything, it comes up like, what, 425. And if you don't have the shipping, well, or if you're a Hasbro Pulse member, you don't have to worry about
Oh,
shipping on
it's
that.
it's
If you're
three
not,
it's 320 it's 324 and then 399.
okay.
So
Yeah, exactly. That's a killer at this point. And DC Vlog said, I've said this over and over. the Anakin and the Obi-Wan Black Series figures need retooling and new releases on the Return of the Sith. Plus, I don't think the same characters need to be reissued once that they've been discontinued. I
Agree.
will give you that. I noticed that they did this with the Balin figure from the Asuka show. That they had one that was all plastic goods, and then they did a later one in the year that had the soft good cape, and I just thought, like, why didn't they just start off with the cape in the beginning? So they're hitting double people. I know Mucha was telling me that he went with the plastic and not with the soft good ones. But this is the thing that's also popping up, is that, yeah, Star Wars has been double dipping, and the same thing with G.I. Joe Classified, because whenever they do, like, now the retro figures, I think is smart. They're not the same exact. That Dr. Mind Member is not the same exact character. Rock and Roll is not the same exact one from the Classified. The retro figures have enough to change. I think the Cobra Commander, while it has the shine on the actual hood or the actual faceplate, but
Yeah.
that's still like the version of the HasLab. But I do know with a lot of the Tiger Force figures and a lot of the Night Force figures, those are just repaints or redecos. So they're double and tripling like some of their initial offerings. I think that's not serving fandom well at all. I
Yeah,
think it's
I think
hurting.
I think they are, but I mean, I understand.
Yeah,
I understand it to a certain extent. Like if you're a heavy collector, I mean, like you are with classifieds,
yeah,
you're not going to collect Tiger Force, Night Force, Marauders. You're not going to do all that. But if you're like a Tiger Force collector and you don't like any other line, you're going to want the figures that come out on every other thing too. So I understand why they do it, but it also, if you're a completist, you're going to be buying every line,
and that's and it,
and that's and
and I
that's a
can't tell
problem.
you now. I'm not a completist with classified. The sub teams, like there's a couple of characters that I bought in Night Force. I wanted Big Ben. I wanted some of the unique characters I haven't seen.
Yeah,
But Tiger Force, I thought when they weren't, I didn't think they were going to reissue some of those characters. Then once I saw them start reissuing, I like, all right, I'm not going to do the Tiger Force. I didn't do any of the Tiger Force vehicles or any situation on there, because you got to pick and choose. It comes down to what you're going to be comfortable with and if it's going to be worth it. And I just don't think sometimes that chasing down every item, you know how, first of all, with the vehicles, you've got to be careful. They're double dipping in these vehicles, so you're
yeah,
naturally running out of lines. That's what's killing you right now. And DT Vlog said, exactly, prioritize soft goods over plastic. Make it worth it for the collection so we don't have to waste money on making random mods, especially when it comes to accessories. DC, I will give you credit on that one. That is so very true. I know so many people that didn't like the plastics, and then they went with, like, we have a show out here in Southern California, the SoCal Joe show, and there's someone that does, like, soft goods for some of the classified characters. And so, I see a lot of like mods and modernizations for a lot of these characters. And same thing with Star Wars Black Series. I see a lot of mods because a lot of people don't like, you can't pose some of those, especially if they have like the kilts or the skirts and everything on some of the Jedi's, you can't pose them well. So, but when you get the soft goods, they got you. Or like Darth Moocher, I will give him, I'll steal his line right here. Every other week they got a clone warrior, clone figure coming out. Different commander, different situations. It's the same old, different coloring. They just do it differently. So I think they've got to be careful again with overfishing the pool of it. So, hey man, that's the thing we die on. We love the stuff they're doing. I think that I think pipelines is something I hope they reconsider it. I would hate to have them, like, do something where it's like it's going to do detriment to the industry, because we all love this as collecting. And let's run with DC, especially for those high quality figures and stuff. Like, oh yeah, the SH figures, the hinge capes are so ugly and they don't look that good. Yeah, yeah.
it's
Well,
true.
they got to start thinking about some of that, man. It's like, and then also, we're looking at it's just going to push more people to, like, maybe there's a backlash of people that are upset with Hasbro, and that pushes more people the neck away. Pushes people over the Super
Tekka.
7. You never know what you're doing. It's like, you've got, you're the leader in the toy industry, but sometimes these deciphered things do something where it pushes you to a whole different level and it pushes people fandoms away from you. They don't like the situation that you're doing. I know with the double and triple releases sometimes that doesn't work out too well. So, uh again, good thing or bad thing, I think we will see. I think 2025 is going to be the precursor for us finding out if it's working. Then it'll go all year long. If it's not, after first quarter, they'll go back to pipelines. You'll start seeing that.
You'll see them starting to cook crow.
Also, you know what? One more thing too. I think the reason why they were unhappy with the last Star Wars Black Series pipelines because those were typically some of the worst lines that they produced for some of the TV shows. You had the
Yeah.
Acolyte line. A lot of people had a lot of backlash whether you loved it or you hated it. I heard more people hated it than loved it. And they did those figures. Those figures are still sitting on the shelf. There's going to be like Wakanda forever. They're going to be on shelves at Ollie's forever.
Yeah,
And
it's
then
gonna
now they've got
be a race
Skeleton Crew.
between those and Eternals.
Yeah, and then you got the Skeleton Crew, and there's some saw on some of that for some of these hardcore collectors. So that has a way of changing some situations. So we're going to do some changes. Again, Chet's talked about his unboxing shorts. That is always a great little jab on the channel that people love. But we're going to do something in Toy Box Chronicles to add a little extra flair to it. We love
And
tinkering with the show. Love
it might be
retooling, don't we?
this might be painful for some people, so we're sorry.
But what we're going to add into the show is maybe a 1 or 2 minute little segment that's going to be called a retro unbox. It will be a tape segment that will drop into the show, and it'll be something from the past, or you never know, it could be a build a figure fing fang foom. It could be something that's some kind of a collab or something else like that. You never know what it is, but it'll be one of our favorites. But we thought instead of just doing a whole complete different short, we would add that into the Toy Box Chronicle show to just just have a retro unboxing, something quick, and something that you might have saw in the past, and maybe you're on the fence, and maybe you're at some toy show, or somewhere if it's still on some of the Ollie's or some of the discount areas, and you see it, you might want to pick it up. So we're going to be adding that in. Probably I would say towards maybe the end of 2024 December, maybe early in 2025. But we'll see. We're going to experiment with that.
And it's mostly because I have to get myself ready because a lot of my stuff is vintage.
Yeah.
And hey, if you don't open it, you can't enjoy it. Huh?
I think it's good to show some of the vintage stuff because there's a lot of people that, sometimes you miss something, you don't have an appreciation for it, and then you see it on the shelf or someplace else, and you're like, you know what? Why? Next time I'm at a show, I am going to actually purchase that. So we're going to, try to hit some nostalgia buttons while through the cast and everything. And it'll be a fun segment and everything. And they'll give us a couple of minutes of us shutting their mouths up and having like an actual recorded video going. But other than that, brother, hey, we're coming down to our times ending. And like all things when it ends and everything else like that, well, if there's a piper to be paid and everything, it is a piper for our sponsors. And guess what, Mr. Maddox?
What's
we got
that?
some of the best sponsors on the face of the planet.
Yeah,
And
we do.
one of them happens to be Entertainment Earth. Oh yeah, Entertainment Earth. And if you don't know, right now on Entertainment Earth, they are running their Black Friday sale 2024. You can say about the 30% on select early bird Black Friday deals through November 24th, up until 11:59 p.m. Or Pacific time. I'm sorry. So head over there, use our code right there. You can again, you see if you can save some bucks. We did the math for you on some of that stuff up there, so you can see. But it's always a great one, and we thank them for being that. And if you're into the kind of stuff that we're into, and you just don't collect just toys, chances are you have some other collectibles. You probably were into comics as well. And we've got a new sponsor, and that's Gemini, and we'll let you see the savings. Oh yeah. All right. Nothing like saving again. 10% is nothing to scoff at.
And
Use
hey,
code
just so you know, if you go to your comic book stores and they're not friendly, they typically charge $1 for a bag and board. So save that dollar and use it to buy bag and boards from, Gemini, and you'll be saving money.
Absolutely. And you know what? Now, again, we got, we run live streams here and we run some live streams on our brother's channels. But Wednesday night, oh, we got you covered on Wednesday nights and everything. And on Friday nights. Oh yeah, that means like I said earlier tonight, the Fallen Fett was on at 6 p.m. and everything. He was talking to him and Yoko. We're talking about some good stuff tonight and everything. And then that's us on Toy Box Chronicles here on the Shadow Notes Network at 7 p.m. Pacific time. And then after us, the best damn Star Wars show on all of YouTube, the Starlight Digest podcast. Our friends Darth Moocher, Scott Solo, Grand Admiral Fretz, the Fallen Fett. And sometimes some Toy Box Chronicle guys last week, if you didn't see, we did 2 hours over there.
randomly pop in. Hey, you know what? We're happy you guys all stuck around because we told you we were going to announce something for this coming up episode next week for episode number 41. We are going to be having on the creators of the Bandito, which if you don't know what that is, look it up. But the Bandito, Odd Frog Entertainment, and the Bandito is a 1/12 car. If you've seen the Ramen Toy Ramen Racer, so think along that line. I think you guys will be very excited. These guys are fantastic. They're great. We've had our team has reached out to them. They've gotten back to them. It's been nothing but a pleasure talking with them so far. We are very excited to have one or two of them on. And more importantly, they are based in Southern California. So that is going to be an interesting conversation.
It is.
That's next episode.
Before, sir? Why did we not know this before?
I don't know. And hey, stick around to the end of the next episode because we have another awesome person joining us for that following one. So we got a lot of stuff planned for you over the next couple of weeks here on Toy Box Chronicles. Also, a lot of planned on the Pixel Plastic Inc. and then things in between there. We appreciate everybody stopping by and hanging out. But our time has, in fact, run short. And we have to get off the air because we have to see Sarlacc and decide whether or not we want to bother them and jump on. So, look, I've said this many times, and I'll say it many more times. But if you're watching this show, you made the right choice. You did your duty for the toy community by stopping by. Tell a friend, get them to come over and subscribe, like, follow, click the little bell for subscriptions. We know you love us. We see the replays, but we also see that a lot of you don't subscribe, so we'd appreciate it. And until next Wednesday, keep chasing that plastic dragon and do not tell your significant others because it causes divorce. So until next time, Mr. Alexander Storm, you are fantastic. I appreciate you. And we will, I don't know, we'll probably see you guys